here. First of all, I want to say that I'm, very pleased to join, many friends, or people who are old friends of mine here today, and also to meet new friends. Because over the time that I've known people in the unification movement, I've come to regard many of you, and particularly Robin and Margaret, if I can be forgiven for mentioning a couple of names, as very dear friends of mine. And I'm also honoured to have been asked to say a few words at an occasion that is of such profound and deep significance to all of you, and I take that also to be a sign of our friendship. I was asked to say something about North Korea and Reverend Moon's work there and my appreciation of it. And it is something that, on many levels, a number of you will know about much better than me. But as a regular visitor to North Korea, I have at least been able to see with my own eyes some of the surface of this realities of this work more than other people. Things like the Potonggang Hotel, which was renovated by Reverend Moon and continues to be managed by the Unification Movement, the Peace Centre and Convention Centre that was built in front of the Potonggang Hotel, which lies in a very scenic spot by the river in Pyongyang, the billboards for the cars that are being made in North Korea on the investment from the Unification Church, which are the only non-political billboards which you will see in the whole of North Korea. So I've seen some of that surface of the work that Reverend Moon led in North Korea, and I've also tried my best to learn about and to understand and appreciate some of the deeper meaning and significance that lies behind it, because to renovate and operate a hotel is certainly a good thing, but it by no means expresses the real significance of Father Moon's relationship with North Korea. I've visited North Korea regularly since 1983. In fact, on that occasion I stayed in the Potonggang Hotel. That was a long time before it was renovated. It's better now. I have many friends there. I love the country and its people. The Korean Peninsula, as those of you who know it will surely agree, is unsurpassed in its physical and natural beauty. And the Korean people, I believe, are blessed with the finest qualities of human nature. Of course, I always knew something of the difficult background and history between the Unification Movement and Father Moon and the state of North Korea. I knew that he was imprisoned in North Korea, and that there was, for a long period of time, what I would just say was a deep ideological antipathy between people. So, to be honest, I was frankly surprised when I heard in 1991 that Reverend Moon was going to visit North Korea. At that time, there was no North Korean embassy in London, so I phoned my friend who was working at the North Korean mission in Paris to seek his view and try to understand better what was happening, because I could see that this was something very significant, but exactly what, I wasn't sure. And I think, though I can't be sure, that my friend in Paris was about as surprised by the news as I was. But he tried to give his explanation, or an explanation that he thought was appropriate. And what he said was that when Korean people grow old, they thought more and more about their native place. And as Reverend Moon was now growing old, he felt sure that he would be no exception. Now, of course, to say the least, we know that this is not the full story. But I think it is part of the story, especially when it is viewed from the standpoint of a single human family. Anyway, it's a personal reflection that was given to me that I've been able to share with you. Reverend Moon's visit to North Korea was a journey that took courage, wisdom, and foresight, in my opinion. And it was taken against the background not only of the situation on the Korean Peninsula, but also of global developments in which Korea itself is so central. Reverend Moon's work to build bridges with North Korea was preceded by his building of bridges with the Soviet Union and China. And what is also important to note is that his visit to North Korea was the start and not the end of the process. It would be possible to go and make a visit and come back and nothing happens. In international life, diplomacy, business, we often see examples of that. But this was the start of a process, and I think that was, if anything, even more important than the visit itself, because it was a process that is still continuing and developing. Even though Reverend Moon has passed away, it is being continued by his family and his movement. I think it's also important to note that as a result of that visit, a sense of family obligation, which is so important in Korean culture in particular, was created. We know that it is very difficult for people from South Korea to go and visit North Korea, and of course vice versa. And we also know that when Kim Il-sung and later Kim Jong-il died, the decision was taken in North Korea not to invite people from outside the country to the funerals. But in both cases, Reverend Moon succeeded in sending his leading officials and his family members to the funeral ceremonies of both men in Pyongyang. And when Reverend Moon passed away 2 years ago, we know that in turn the present North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, Kim Il-sung's grandson, also sent the personal message of condolence to the family and to the World Peace Federation on Reverend Moon's passing away, and a similar message, I understand, on the first anniversary of his passing away. And also, of course, as many of you will know, Reverend Moon's son visited Pyongyang shortly after his father passed away in order to receive the condolences of people in North Korea. I wanted, if I may, to just share some of Father Moon's words on some of this with you. How he put these things in his own words in a book that many of you will know better than me, but some of you may not have read. It's Reverend Moon's Reminiscences as a Peace-Loving Global Citizen. I think the overall context for his visit to Korea was set out in some words that he put about the importance of peace in general. I'm not referring just specifically to Korea, but about peace in general. But I think it sets the context for what he was trying to achieve. He wrote, "Throughout my life, I have dedicated myself for efforts for peace. Whenever peace is discussed, I become emotional. Tears begin to well up in my eyes. My voice chokes and I can hardly swallow. It moves me deeply just to imagine the day when the world becomes one and begins to enjoy peace. That is the nature of peace. It links people who think differently, are of different races and speak different languages. Our hearts yearn for this world and harbour a hope that it will be realised." There's so much I wanted to quote from this actually, but I will cut it down. I wanted to say about when Reverend Moon decided that he had to meet Kim Il-sung. He says, "I was coming out of the Kremlin after meeting Mr. Gorbachev. I turned to Bo Hi-pak, who had accompanied me, and gave him a special instruction. I need to meet President Kim Il-sung before the end of 1991, I told him. There's no time. The Soviet Union is going to end in the next year or two. Our country is now the problem. Somehow I need to meet President Kim and prevent war from occurring on the Korean Peninsula." And he writes, "The Korean Peninsula is a microcosm of the world. If blood was shed on the Korean Peninsula, it would be shed in the world. If reconciliation occurred on the peninsula, there would be reconciliation in the world. If the peninsula were unified, this would bring about unification in the world." I just wanted to mention Reverend Moon on his visit to North Korea did visit his native place, and he met his family members. But on meeting Kim Il-sung, he said, right at the outset, I said to him, Mr. President, because of your warm consideration, I've been able to meet my family. There are, however, 10 million Koreans who are members of families separated between North and South, and they are unable even to know whether their relatives on the other side are alive or dead. I would like to ask you to grant them the opportunity to meet each other. I spent a little more time telling him about my visit to my hometown and appealed to his love for the Korean people. He and I spoke the same dialect, so we were at ease with one another. President Kim responded, I feel the same way. From next year, let's begin a movement that allows separated compatriots of North and South to meet one another. And just to this is how Reverend Moon summarized the significance of his visit to North Korea. When I went to North Korea, I thought of it as my homeland and the home of my brother. I didn't go there with the desire to get something from them. I went with the purpose to share with them my heart of love. The power of love touched not only President Kim Il-sung, but also his son, Chairman Kim Jong-il. Since then, and continuing to this day, we have maintained a special relationship with North Korea. Each time North-South relations become difficult, we have played a role in opening the gateway. It is all based on the fact that I met with President Kim Il-sung, conveyed to him my sincere heart, and built a relationship of trust with him. That is the importance of trust. Following my meeting with President Kim, we now operate the Pyeonghwa Motors plant, the Potonggang Hotel, and the World Peace Center in North Korea. There are billboards for Pyeonghwa Motors around Pyongyang. When the South Korean president visited North Korea, North Korean officials took him to the Pyeonghwa Motors plant. South Korean business leaders who accompanied the president stayed at the Potonggang Hotel. Non-North Korean members of our church who work in North Korea gather at the World Peace Center each Sunday for worship service. All of these projects are efforts for the sake of peaceful exchanges and unification of North and South. They are not being done to make a profit. They are efforts to contribute to the unification of North and South as an expression of love for the Korean people. In summing up, I wanted to just briefly refer to a news item that was carried by the Associated Press news agency shortly after Reverend Moon passed away, which said that he was an early practitioner of the kind of conciliatory politics that the South Korean government would eventually embrace in its now abandoned Sunshine policy. And he noted that Reverend Moon's visit to Pyongyang was made 9 years before South Korean President Kim Dae-jung's groundbreaking visit to the North Korean capital. And in summarizing his role, Associated Press said his role in North Korea may turn out to be his most enduring legacy. By way of a personal conclusion, I would like to express my hope that I can carry on the work with friends in the unification movement for the well-being and prosperity of the Korean people and for world peace.